This is Georgia Southern Football 90, featuring the defending NCAA national champion, Georgia Southern Eagles. This program is brought to you by Team Baden Isuzu. We are the competition. And by Atlantic Cellular. It's for you, Savannah. Now here's your host, Bill Edwards, and Georgia Southern University head football coach, Tim Stowers.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Georgia Southern Football 90, the game tonight against Florida State University. And Tim Stowers, head football coach at Georgia Southern. Tim, I know that you're as excited as anybody about tonight's ball game. A lot of people think, you know, out of the frying pan, into the fire. But these kids rise to the level of competition sometime, and I think they'll do well tonight.
They really do. Last time we went to play them, after a quarter, you know, our kids figured out that, hey, we could play football with Florida State. And we're looking for this 1990 football team to play their first complete football game against a 1990 opponent. And we need to do that against the Florida State Seminoles.
I think you had to be impressed like the rest of us were. You talk about getting better every day. It looked like you got so much better the second half Saturday night.
We looked like a different football team the second half, especially on offense. We showed a little character. You know, we showed a little guts in coming back and going ahead, but we didn't do what we needed to do to make the play in the critical situations, you know, and that's my fault. I need to teach our players how to make the play in those critical situations so we'll have a chance to win a football game in the end.
And tonight, I guess, would be as good a time to start making the play as any.
Well, Florida State, the problem here, playing Florida State football team, we've played people that have that kind of caliber of football players, but usually a defense or an offense may have one or two players, but now they're much more congested. Now there's 11 of them on offense, 11 of them on defense, 11 of them on the kicking game. So that's what makes Florida State such a great football team. They got great coaches, great players. They got all kind of talent on all phases of the kicking game on offense and defense.
But traditionally, they've had trouble with option teams, and we run the option as well as anybody.
That's true, because if we had to turn around and toss the ball to Joe Ross as an eye tailback, you know, those 11 football players and all that congested talent would just be running to Joe. But the way we play football on offense is we can read our way out, and we can eliminate people with the first phase of the option and the second phase of the option instead of blocking them, and that's what gives Georgia Southern a chance against a great Florida State football team.
How do we look on the training table? Pretty good. I mean, injury-wise.
Oh, injury-wise. I think everybody. We got a few bumps and bruises with Gift Smith's knees, a little bit bruised up, and Tim Brown still got a pulled quad. But other than that, we're fairly full speed.
Okay. I know it's going to be a dandy one tonight. Let's go out and get them.
We're going to do the best we can.
Okay. And we'll be back to show you the first half highlights of the FSU game right after this. The game began on a positive note. The Eta Zeta chapter of Sigma Chi fraternity at Georgia Southern presented Coach Tim Stowers with the game ball that they had hand-carried on foot the 250 miles from Statesboro to Tallahassee. Project Chairman Robbie Wagner did the honors, handing Coach Stowers the ball himself. Collecting pledges along the way, the Sigma Chi's were raising money for the Cleo Williams Center for Children with Spinal Defects, among other things. And Georgia Southern fans, as usual, were out in force for the Florida State game as well. The Eagles won the toss for the third week in a row, and team captain Mike West gave the official his decision to defer till the second half. It was almost game time, but let's not forget first, Chief Galloping Flambeau here, making his traditional ride to toss down the gauntlet, as it were. And finally, it was time for football. Don Norton put toe to leather for one of his run-of-the-mill sensational kicks. No return, as Terrell Buckley downed it in the end zone. But it didn't take long for the Seminoles to hit the warpath. On a 2nd and 7 play from their own 36, quarterback Brad Johnson, reading the blitz beautifully, arched one over the middle to fullback Edgar Bennett for 17 yards before Jim Mutimer could stop him. On the next play, Sean Jackson showed his stuff as he circled the left end for a dozen more yards down to the Eagle 32. Then the defense began to stiffen. Gift Smith charged in to bat Brad Johnson's pass back to earth. That, combined with 2 illegal procedure penalties, pushed the Noles back 10 yards. It proved not to matter much. Soon it was to be rectified as Brad Johnson found Edgar Bennett once again wide open, and Bennett made things happen. And though one official ruled it a touchdown, another ruled he'd been knocked out of bounds at the 3. It only prolonged the inevitable as Amp Lee took Johnson's handoff and danced into the clear around the left end for the tally, 7-0 FSU. The Eagles couldn't move on their first possession, and the question arose, could the defense keep the Noles at bay? Well, watch number 99, Alex Mash, give Brad Johnson a smash, sacking him for a 6-yard loss, the first sack this season against FSU. As you enjoy this one once again on the next 2 plays, Amp Lee gained a yard, Johnson lost 1, and it was a 4th and 16 situation. And as you can tell, Coach Bobby Bowden was not a happy little Indian as John Wimberly avoided a heavy Eagle rush and punted it away to Rodney Oglesby, who was unable to do anything but call for a fair catch at the GSU 44. Southern got off to a fast start as Raymond pitched it back to Carl Miller for a 15-yard carry into Seminole territory. And when a 3rd and 12 arose, Raymond and company rose to the occasion. Raymond kept on the option right, cut up field down to the 25, a 17-yard scamper. The proceedings, however, bogged down, and David Kuhl came in to cut the FSU lead to 4 on the strength of a 43-yard field goal. 7-3 Seminoles. The Southern defense continued to win accolades, beginning with the kickoff. It was mishandled before Shannon Baker could finally get the handle on it. By then, the Eagle cavalry had descended on them fast, and they kept the pressure on. A screen pass from Brad Johnson to Amp Lee was good for only 5 yards. Amp then had his voltage lowered by Paul Sickley. And on 3rd and 9 on the last play of the first quarter, Johnson's pass is once again batted down by Giff Smith, who at this time was feeling okay.
Nobody quit tonight. Everybody tried real hard, and I think we're going to be all right. Our season starts next week. That's the only way we can look at it.
Florida State is notorious for turning mistakes into points, and Raymond's pass intended for Alonzo McGee was a mistake because it was actually a lateral, therefore a fumble, and Bill Reagan fell on it for the Seminoles at the Eagle 11. But thanks to great plays by cornerback Kevin Whitley, FSU was well aware that they were not going to run over the Eagles this night. On 3rd and 12, however, Johnson got the job done, firing to Shannon Baker in the end zone, while Baker made a good catch at the goal line and a 14-3 advantage. It seemed like every time the Eagles got the ball, they had to punt it right back to FSU. And still, the defense hung tough. And on no play was that more evident Saturday night than this first down call from the FSU 28. Brad Johnson's perfectly thrown pass is just as perfectly defensed by All-American Rodney Oglesby, who with precise timing saved what looked like a sure touchdown. But despite Eagle intensity, Rodney knew this game would be no picnic.
Yeah, it was a tough one. We came into the game expecting to win, and we wanted to win, we tried to win, but things didn't just go well for us tonight.
They had good hang time on the punt, so there wasn't much chance of any return yardage either.
Yeah, right. We were trying to block them the whole night, and I had no blocking at all, but nothing was really returnable tonight. It was up in the air a long time, so I just played it safe and fair quarter.
Brad Johnson and the rest of his tribe, however, were just too good. Rolling left on the naked bootleg, Brad gained 19 yards up to the 47. Then on 3rd and 3 from the 30, Johnson floats it right up the middle to Edgar Bennett for all but 5 of the yards needed to score. No matter. Amp turned on the juice, 1st and goal. He was into the happy hunting ground just like that, and a 21-3 lead as the first half came to a close. Hey, it's volleyball season. Come on back and meet the coach after this timeout. To quote Peter Noon when he couldn't remember the The rest of the lyrics to a song he was recording. I'm Henry VIII, I am. Second verse, same as the first. For Georgia Southern Saturday night, it was more of the same as Carl Miller down the kickoff in the end zone, and the Southern proceedings began at their 20. It was an inauspicious start as Miller lost 4 yards on the first play. The Eagles then tried to test the middle of the Seminole line, and Joe Ross met Joe Ostazuski, who unfortunately was as big as his name, and it was no-go Joe. But as Ross pointed out afterward, this was a problem all night.
Yeah, I think they were determined to prove that 88 was a fluke. They came out and they beat us man for man. You know, their guard was better than our guard and all that, all the way down the line, just physically stronger, and they beat us down.
It looked like, you know, you were trying to run inside so many times. I noticed in the second half you got a few more yards, but boy, it was tough.
Yeah, they were determined to stop us. I mean, really, I guess they were determined to embarrass us because they really came out and they were playing hard. I guess it felt to me like they were playing Notre Dame. You know, they just came out and they shut us down completely. You know, I think we had barely 100 yards rushing, so it's very frustrating for us. You know, with a team like this and the offense we have, you have one chance to get that big play, and if you don't make that big play, that's it. Because you know, when you come back again, they know it's coming. They're ready for it.
And much to the Eagles' chagrin, FSU picked up where they left off, too. On 2nd and 5 from their own 43, Brad Johnson dumped it to favorite target Edgar Bennett, and it was as effective as always, picking up 15 yards to the Southern 42. But Eagle pride was still showing with the Seminoles dangerously close to the GSU end zone. Amp Lee was short-circuited by defensive tackle Tim Brown. So the Seminoles had to settle for a field goal and a 24-3 lead. Desperately needing to get some consistency established on offense, it looked like it might have started on the ensuing kickoff as Carl Miller grabbed it at the 2 and came back 21 yards to the GSU 23. And overall, Carl says he's been very pleased with the return yardage this year.
Definitely. I am very, very pleased with our kickoff return. It's the best it's ever been. Coach Stowers got in a new practice scheme. It's called Edge Practice, where we practice on nothing but special teams during that period. I think it's starting to show on the football field.
Combined with Carl's nice return, the Eagle Express seemed to gather a little steam. When on first down, Raymond Gross found the New Jersey Flash. Terrence Sorrell out in the flats. And even though Terrence would lose the handle toward the end of the run, it went out of bounds for a 20-yard Eagle gain. Terrence liked it, but he knew that they'd have to put forth more of an effort than this in order to get back in the football game.
Yeah, I thought we could get them with big plays. I mean, we didn't have enough of them. That one catch, it was, you know, okay for me, but I want to do a little more tonight.
I know they're working with a new offensive line and everything, and things are going to be a little slow developing this year, but it looks like, you know, you improve every game, and, you know, and losing to these guys is certainly no disgrace.
No, the main thing right now is we have to be patient. We have to, you know, look at this game, find out what we did wrong, take a look at the mistakes, and, you know, go about doing better next week.
Yeah. Hopefully so, because things were not going well this week, gaining only 6 more yards in the next 3 plays. So Terry Harbin came in for more punting practice, only to have it partially blocked, and his normally 40-yard plus average trickled to only 18 here, through no fault of his own, of course. And instead of having it deep in their own territory, the Seminoles were in business at their own 33. And it looked like it was here we go again time with new quarterback number 11 Casey Weldon on a 2nd down pass that was good for 12 yards, hitting Shannon Baker. And on 3rd and 5 from midfield, another 10-yard strike, this time to Amp Lee, taking it down to the GSU 40.
It gets the job done.
But once again, the Eagles secondary would rise magnificently to the occasion. As Casey Weldon tried to avoid getting the Alex Mash smash, he fired right into the hands of tall number 44, Shane Maxwell, who grabbed it at the 20 and brought it back 15 yards up to the 45. Not only was it the 23rd game in a row where the Eagles had intercepted a pass, an impressive statistic on its own, it was the first time in the junior out of Winder, Georgia's career that he'd picked one off.
I saw a little daylight, I guess, that 5 flat come in, and number 38 come out of nowhere, and he popped me. But, you know, we got to learn, we got to have, you know, make big plays. If we're going to win, we're going to have somebody make the big play.
Explain that play to me. What happened?
I'll tell you what, really, the back didn't come out the backfield, and I dropped back, and they did a deep dig. And I sort of hid behind the lineman, and he just threw the ball, and he threw it sort of short, and it hit me right in the hands. I dropped about 4 in practice a few days ago, so I'm just glad to catch that ball.
You guys keep improving every week, and of course Eastern Kentucky, now we get back to our schedule, and Eastern Kentucky comes in next week. They got to remember 2 years ago. It's going to be a tough one next week too.
Oh, yeah, Eastern Kentucky, they're going to come in fired up. We just got to try to pump it up and go on, you know, take this with them. Just have to work harder.
Okay. But taking advantage of the situation was yet another matter. On 2nd and 12, Gross fired to Darrell Belzer for 5. But on 3rd down, it was the same old sad scenario, with Raymond getting dumped for an 8-yard loss by linebacker Kurt Carruthers' favorite player. Kurt Carruthers. He is indeed one of the finest in the country, and one of at least 11 or more reasons that the Eagle Express was derailed Saturday night.
Yeah, we couldn't get nothing established up in the middle. They were big, but they wasn't. I mean, they wasn't no better than anyone else we played on the line. You know what I'm saying? And we didn't get it established, the fullback established, and all we can do is keep working.
Okay. You know, they were coming off the ball pretty quick, and you know they kind of caused confusion in our backfield. And you know, anytime somebody can disrupt the option, they got a pretty good game plan.
Yeah, speed, I guess, is the main thing again.
Yeah, they could get us. They could beat us out to the outside, basically. You know, like I said, overall team speed is incredible. You know, we can get it outside every now and then, but most of the time they had it taken away.
Early in the 4th quarter, though, things finally began to click a bit with 3rd and 2 at the Seminole 6. Unfortunately, the noisy FSU crowd, 6th largest in history, had the Eagles rattled, and it cost them dearly. A procedure penalty made it 3rd and 7, and Gross could get only 2 of them back. So Mike Dow's field goal services were called upon. By the way, ignore that insert at the bottom of your screen. That's some sort of Sunshine Network code. The kick was good.
Strange thing about it, still felt like we had a chance there, 24-6. Had a few breaks that went against us, and then it just kind of snowballed on us.
Yeah. Snowballed is certainly the right term. The Eagles, later down 34-6, even tried a new quarterback in Albert Huntley. He looked sharp for a bit, but to no avail. And despite the lopsided 48-6 score, the Southern fans were certainly out in force. They didn't give up, nor did guys like Kevin Whitley, who played one whale of a game defensively for the Eagles.
Well, early in the game, I think they were hurting us with screens and backside the backfield. It wasn't split ends. And we tried to make some adjustments to that. And then so we just tried to improve, and they got us in the end, that's all. On a game like this, we just got to try to get better, prepare for next week. Because next week we play 1AA Florida State in Eastern Kentucky, so it's not going to get any easier for us.
Boy, that's the truth. And Coach Tim Stowers will have final comments in a moment.